had this table made by a real pro. So I made this thing. And we were trying to think of what kind of art to put on in the top. We decided we're gonna try to put a mirror. So I bought some wood. I bought some white, that's red oak, I bought white oak. I'll show you what it looks like. Plus we bought this big mirror. And here it is, let's see. All right, the mirror is fine. Let's see, I don't know how I'm gonna get this off this lip. There's a thick plastic lip it's sitting in there. So unfortunately, it wasn't the same size as it said it was supposed to be on Amazon. First of all, it was a 1/2 inch frame all around on each side, which I kind of anticipated based on what I saw, but including the frame, it was about a 1/2 inch shorter in the width and maybe 1/4 inch shorter in height than it was supposed to be according to the listing. All right, not a big deal, but I had already calculated the size I was going to make the frame. Okay, so again, here's the wood I got right over here. It's 5.5. 5.5. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 4 inches. I'll take the other 1.5 inches and I'm going to double it over to make it look twice as thick. So after a lot of calculation, I'm going to have the vertical ones 40 inches long in order to have 3/4 inch inset along the perimeter in order to sink the mirror in. So I laid the 3 pieces out on the floor and I looked to see which sides were the best. I mean, like if you take this piece over here, the back has like a hole in it. So what I'm going to do is this is going to be the two 40 inch vertical pieces. That hole starts at about 44, 45. So I'll go from each end. And then I'll go back upstairs and double and triple check how long to make the, whatever the styles, the other ones. So I set this up over here. And this one I'm just going to use to make the 40 inch slices. I'm going to check and make sure the blade's completely 90 degrees. And 90 degrees back to front. I'll make sure that's all good to go. Once that's all good to go, I'll make the cuts. I have it hooked up to a dust collector over here. So hopefully I'll do the trick. All right. So I'm making sure the blade is 90. And it is damn close anyway to the fence. And then turn this on, lay it right there, zero it out. Now, since these two have to be exactly the same length, I'm going to use one as a template to cut the other. This way, if one is not the right length, the other one won't be either, or they'll both be perfect. dull blade, just saying. All right. So now we got both of these. Both of these are exactly the same length now. It's gotta be 74¼ inches. So I'm gonna do the first, I'm gonna cut right here, and that will make these two pieces even. I'm getting rid of the end. And then I'll measure 74¼ inches, and I'll cut the second cut. And if I do them together like this, okay. Here goes nothing. $74 and a quarter. All right. $74 and a quarter. Going through both at once. Left over. Hopefully, we're right on the money now. All right, that worked out. Let's see. So this is how it's laid out right now. These are going to be 4 inches, not 6. So I have to cut 2 inches off of each of these pieces, and I might double it up to make it look thicker, but we'll see. We shall see. I'm just going to rip it on my table saw. I did like a little practice one. So it's going to come out this wide over here with this little piece, and I'm going to label these because the offshoot, I'm going to glue it like that to make it double thickness. However, I want to see where it came off from so that I can use the exact piece that came off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the outside edges of all these, and I'm going to just label them. So I'm going to go around to this thing. I'm going to label it like the outside. Like I'm going to make this . So I'm going to take the best edge, which is this, and the opposite one I'm going to do like this. A, and then on the very outside here I'm going to put an A. All right? This is smooth. So I'm going to cut off of this. B, B. I'm leaving the smoothest edge on the inside. Like so. We're going to do C, C. Last but not least, this is the smoothest edge over here. So we'll cut D. Right, so the best edge I can guide along the saw fence. Okay, so that's that. All right. This is not the vision of accuracy. All right, This is good enough. Good enough for this neighborhood. How's that? Perfect. All right, good enough. Good enough for me. Foolishly, I can't find any of the clips or even a picture of gluing the wood together. What I did was I took the offshoot, little 1.5 piece, I folded it over, I put a ton of glue on it, enough that would ooze out, and I clamped it together, and I shot some brads in that were small enough so they wouldn't come through the other side to hold it until the glue dried. So I cannot find the clips, I apologize, but here we are, next part. Okay, so talk about stupid. Here's where I am. I took little strips and I glued them to the edges. Oh, I gotta hammer that one in. I didn't feel that. Anyway, I glued them to the edges to make this wood appear thicker, like this. I was so careful on the edge to cut it to the right size, but that's actually stupid. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the chop saw and just take the thinnest of thin drops off of this, just so all the sides are even. As long as I do it on each side, actually this is not true. I got to do them together, because if I take off a different amount on both of these sides, it's going to mess it up. So what I'll have to do is put these exactly one on top of the other and make them exactly the same length. The small ones and the big ones are gonna have to be exactly the same length too. So let me figure that out. All right, so this might be stupid, but I'm gonna give this a try. I'm gonna try to use the chop saw here. And cut a thin margin off of the edge here. I don't know if that was even enough. Take like 1/1000th of an inch off. Let's try this again. All right, that was more than I wanted it to be. Why'd this stop? Huh. Anyway, oh, I forgot that it goes on automatically. Anyway, all right, that's that side. Perfect. Now I'm gonna see if I can shave a hair off of this other side. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. Good. Not that that matters. Nobody's going to see that. But now these are absolutely perfect. All right, that was good. Okay. For this, since these are longer, I think I'm going to clamp these together so they don't come apart. I have a frame of reference. There you go. I'm just gonna feel the other side. Yeah, these are the same length. Okay, let's go for it. Good. Flip this around. All right, good, that didn't move at all. All right, good enough. Good enough for me. Good enough for me. All right, so that's what we are. I just have this lying down on the floor just to see what it looks like. The next thing I gotta do is I'm gonna put dowels on the sides of these. That's the good side. So watch. You go like this. I'm gonna slide it flush so I can feel this. Perfectly flush. This is what gives you, good. This is what gives you the meeting up. I'm gonna do number 2 and number 4. All right, so I'll cross my fingers. See how this is a little messy, but. Wow, not very pretty. I don't know if I can get around. I might have to sharpen it again. I thought I sharpened it, but obviously it didn't work properly. Although it feels sharp. It feels very sharp. And it's spinning the right way. Let's see what it looks like. Well, it's holes. So let's do it on this other side now. Okay, and make sure this is. All right, so that's it, it goes like that. All right, so here's where we are. I went around all 4 sides. You can't see this, but I used that doweling jig to line everything up. I made 2 holes in each one. I could have done 3, but I think 2 should be sufficient. I don't know if you can see, but I made a mark. This is not so accurate, but it's going to be 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to dado out this all around to set the mirror into. So if it's 33 and a little bit less than 33 and a half, the opening is 31 and 3/4. So that gives me 3/4 of an inch on each side. What I should have done is run with the dado bit across, at least across these 2, before I put the sides of wood on. But unfortunately, I'm not going to glue it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to have to use a router. I'm going to have to make a channel 3/4 of an inch inside. Now this wood is 3/4 of an inch thick. So the channel can't be more than, I would like the channel to be maybe half of that. What I'm going to do is lower the blade all the way down, make a bunch of passes, taking out a little bit more. Again, it's not so good, not such a great deal. I'll do 1 pass, and maybe you can see. This would have been so much easier if I could have done it horizontally with that piece of wood lying down, which would have required me to do it before I glued the piece to make it double thickness. I didn't think first, so it was twice as much work. .82, good. 0.83, 0.82. Beautiful. It was like 0.72 before. So what I got is this right here. See, these are in the way. I can't. Plus, if I ran it all the way across, it would be cut. So I have to stop it right about here. If I run the dado blade, I probably can end somewhere around here. I'm gonna have to cut out the rest. But I'm gonna neaten this up and see if I can arrange this and figure it out. Holy crap, I just spent an hour and I forgot to press record. I suck. Anyway, I'll make this short and sweet. This is with a different camera. All right. What I did, you watched me, I was able to run these vertically through the table saw. These side ones over here, I wasn't able to do that because I foolishly put these things on. Plus, I don't want the dado, if I went all the way through, it would show out over here. So what I did was it was awful. It was awful. I took the router with a rabbit bit that wasn't deep enough, so it only got me maybe a half an inch in, and then I took an 1/8 of an inch burr and I ate away at it. But I had to put a second piece of wood here to ride it along these two things. The whole thing was horrible. This side is better than this side. For some reason, I think the bit got dull and it was pushing down into the wood. It doesn't matter, you're not gonna see any of this. The bottom line is, my measurements, I need 75 3/4, and I have more than 76, like 76 1/4 or 76 1/2. So this is not the supportive side, this and this, because it's gonna sit horizontally. So this is the side that I did on the table saw is what I need to support the weight of the mirror. And this is a nice flat edge back here, so I'm happy with that. It's got to be 33 7/16. I have a little more than 33 1/2. So at the end of the day, I have enough width and length inside of here in order to sit the mirror and have the outside be a frame. I haven't touched the outside, I haven't smoothed it, I haven't sanded it, and clearly I haven't stained it yet. But I may give it a trial fit around the mirror just for the heck of it, just to see. Like I'll have my kid, we'll carry it upstairs, put it together upstairs and see if I can fit it around the mirror. Because I hate to put the whole thing together, stain it, and then find out that there's something holding it up and it doesn't fit. So that's where I am. Brought this upstairs to test. And it fits. Miracle of miracles. There's a little extra room over here, but I don't care about that because it's going to be sitting on this part. All right, it fits. Thank goodness. All right. So here's the old glue up. No matter how much I try, it's always a mess. Always a huge mess. So you can see the dowels are in a pan for my toaster oven. So I stick them in there for a few minutes at like 300 degrees and it makes them shrink because it gets all the moisture out. And then they fit into the dowel holes pretty easily. You just stick the glue in. I made sure there was enough glue so it kind of pushed out when I put the dowels in. I also put glue on both mating surfaces, just a thin coating. And you know, it gets everywhere, regardless. And then I gently clamp them together. And the key is to not clamp too much, or else it'll kind of bow the whole workpiece, especially if you don't have any, I think they call it culls, or whatever. The dowels are kind of going to hold them in the right plane, and I just wanted to gently push them together. So I have those long clamps made out of black pipe that I got at Home Depot. They actually work great. Those are like 10-foot sections. Maybe they're not. Maybe that's galvanized. But that's it. I put the water there for weights, and you can see them running around, and it's a huge mess. The reason I have it face down is so that any runoff glue wouldn't go on the face of the project. it would go on the backside. And then I let it dry for a good 12 hours, and I flipped it over, and I got rid of any excess that was sitting in that rabbited groove, just so that I'd be able to put the mirror and nothing would be holding it up. I actually took a little chisel, and I made sure to get all the extra there. It wasn't a ton. There was only a little bit, thankfully. Give you a couple minutes of this boringness. Make sure that's on. So I watched somebody who seems like they know what they're doing. He used 80 grit sandpaper to start out with, to take down the lip. I hate to do that, but I'm going to. I gotta feather it back. Then we'll work back up to 400 again. I guess I gotta do the corners at some point. All right, so let's see, this is higher right here. So. I just filled in the little gaps that I had. Unfortunately, there were some. I wound up using Bondo wood filler. It was my first time using it. And it worked out pretty well. It hardened up pretty well, and no complaints. So that's where we are. Take this off, I'll show you. This is 80. Let's hit this a little bit. So if I was going with a natural finish of the wood, I would not use this Bondo stuff because it dries green. I was staining the wood black, so I had no issue at all. And it's nice and hard and smooth. It worked out well. This is Behlen's NCR Solar Lux Black Dye Stain. NGR. No razor to grain. So who knows? It didn't raise the grain. It's actually pretty good. But I'm going all around the outside. I used a sponge. It didn't work out too well. I wound up using a paper towel. It worked out better. The sponge, it's almost like alcohol consistency. It evaporates really fast. And the sponge was not that great. So again, I'm speeding through this because nobody wants to see it. But I did a few coats on the side that you're going to see, which is this side. And I flipped it over, and I did a lot less on the other side. In fact, there was some glue overspill that I didn't go crazy cleaning up, so it wasn't very even, but it's the back, so who cares? It's just the dye or stain or whatever you want to call it. You can see the oak, the grain through there, and that's really what I care about. That's it. All right. So I'm not going to leave the camera in here because I don't want to ruin it. But the garage is heated. I'm going to turn the heater off. I got this lacquer. I got HVLP gun over there. Not over there, it's over here. Semi-Pro 2. I got mask, goggles. I'm gonna strain the stuff into there and spray it on. And I'm not gonna leave the camera in here, like I said. I'm gonna crack the garage door open also. We'll try to get the air going out. I'm going to turn the heater off so nothing explodes. And that's it. That's the idea. Do a couple of coats on this side, and then I'll flip it over, and I'll do the important side. I think it's important to do both sides. All right, so that's it. I gotta mix this first. Pour it in there, test it on some cardboard, which I got over there. We'll go to town. All right. This is my second coat now. I put these on relatively thick and didn't thin this stuff out at all. It's a wet coat, it's got to dry still. I think it's coming out pretty well, we'll see. So here we are, it is now 8 o'clock at night, and I did this today. So I know it's not great because it's kind of dark in here, but see what this looks like. It's got good reflectivity. Okay, so it's been like 4 days since I sprayed the lacquer on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the mirror and put it in there. I don't know if the lacquer is totally good to go yet. And then I have these things, like little Z-clips. I'm gonna drill little spots and hopefully clip it in. I'm gonna sit it in here. Tilt it forward and hopefully not break anything. Come on, get in there. Okay, it's in there. Okay. All right. There are the 8 screws. Hopefully this is gonna lift right out. Okay, no problem. Now, all right, let's see. See how that works. All right, so let's see if I can lift it up now without it falling out. Let's see how I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be heavy. And again, I don't wanna wreck this is the top. So, all right. Okay. Ta-da. This is what it is. So today's job is going to be to hang a mirror. I went to Home Depot. I got this big thing that's supposed to be able to support 100 pounds of wire. Eye hook. As long as I don't drill through the frame, that would suck. And then I got 2 of these. I figured I'm going to put the wire on the wall, on the studs. I figured 2 of them spaced out. All right, I used a stud finder. I used magnets. This thing is fantastic. Let's see, pushing a button. See, kind of gives you, plus for good measure, I got a magnet up there. I don't know if you can see that. So I wound up using these eye hooks, and what you see there is the tip of the eye hook cut off. The reason I cut the tip off is because it was sitting up too high, and it would have pushed the entire thing off of the wall. And I didn't want that to interfere with, I didn't want those two eye hooks to hit the wall. So what I did was I pre-drilled a hole with the drill bit. I screwed it all the way down. I think it went down close to 3/4 of an inch. Then I unscrewed it, went downstairs and took a hacksaw, and I cut maybe 1/4 of an inch off the tip. Then I put a little bit of thin epoxy into the hole, and then I screwed it back down as far as I could so that it was flush. In other words, so that it was below when I run that piece of wood there, so it was all the way down. And it was tightly in there, and the epoxy is going to set up, giving it extra strength, and that's it. Now for this, I don't think there are plenty of videos showing you how to run the wire through the hooks. So this is not going to be one of those videos. I was sitting there watching the iPad and following and refollowing in order for it to kind of lock the wire in place, because this thing weighs probably 65 to 70 pounds. The wire was rated for 100 pounds, and hopefully the eye hooks will be heavy enough to support the weight of the thing. So I kind of did it as tight as I can. This is one clip. I actually wound up loosening one of them and pulling it even tighter because I didn't want the wire showing out the top. So you're supposed to give it some slack, and I wound up giving it some slack. So I calculated how high to put the hooks in order to start the mirror 6 inches off of that serving piece over there. And then I went to where the studs were, and I put the hook part, but obviously the nails go above the hook, but I put the hook right on that line, and I did that on both studs, and I only set that thing up so they'd be at the same height. So that's what I'm doing there. And after dragging the mirror over and realizing how heavy it was, I realized I was going to have to stand on that serving piece in order to put it up. So I got my wife, and she gave me a little hand, and I stood on that thing. I put a step stool, we lifted it onto the serving piece. Then it was really a team effort to get it up to and onto the hooks. It really was. We were fighting with it for a little while, but it got on there at the end. Okay, and after I'm done with it, it looks good in here, but a couple of things. First of all, I measured 1,000 times to try to get 6 inches off the bottom, but I guess the wire stretched a little bit, so it's 4 inches off the bottom. We're not moving it. My wife says it looks good like this, and I didn't really care to begin with. So, like I said, the wire gave and stretched. I tried to stretch it and figure out where it was going to be, but it stretched more than I thought. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the mirror. It's been in our house for like a week and a half, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks. I've been looking at it every day. It looked fine, but at the end of the day, it's not a great quality mirror, unfortunately. If you look at the right angle, which you're not gonna be able to see by the camera, there's almost like a little artifact. It's like a little darker in the middle, like just, it's imperceptible. I mean, only a mental patient like me would notice, but it's enough to drive me crazy, but whatever. I don't know if you can see. It's right in there. It's a little darker. You're not gonna be able to see, but like I said, it's almost like a line. Let's see. I can see it now. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Let me play around with this f-stop and see if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. The camera's picking it up. You see the line right here? It's like a little darker. I don't know what that is. It's some sort of distortion. Again, the mirror is $300, the mirror itself. I don't know how expensive something like this would be if you purchased it from the store, but all in between the $300 mirror, the $200 wood, that's $500. The $100 or so for the what do you call it, lacquer? You know, I'm into it for like $600, so I don't know how anybody can do woodworking and make money, because at the end of the day, you're talking about $600 in cost. So what are you going to sell it for, $1,000? I don't know. Anyway, that's it. It's done. And thanks for watching.